What's going on, everybody? Smoke it up. It's January 15th, 4:20 a.m., and this is your favorite pro-weed Mormon host, and you're listening to your favorite podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the fact that we're all on a mission in this life, and even if we're unaware of what that mission currently is, we can always be certain that no matter how prepared we think we are for it, things will never work out exactly as we hope, but they will always work themselves out, the way that they must. And there's nothing wrong with that. Welcome. Alright, everybody. Welcome to the show. How's it going? It's good to see you. I know you think this is Naughty Oldie Podcast, but if you look real close in your speakers, you'll see some little Bluetooth cameras that I've been watching all of the people that listen to this show. And I'm watching you on your phone, because I'm part of the government. I'm just kidding. Well, welcome back to another glorious episode of Pronoun_Human, the podcast. I'm Nikki Mayhem, your host, and I'm getting a little high right now, but that's all right. Weed is of the earth, and I think that God put it here. That's why I'm a pro-weed Mormon, everybody, all right? If anyone wants to complain about it, take it up with God at the end of time. You know what I mean? And who knows, maybe I'm wrong. If that's the case, well, let's just hope that people enjoy the ride. You know what I'm saying? Now, today we're going to talk about being on a mission. Sometimes we find ourselves in lives, like, I guess, sorry, I'm all describing everybody like they've got, like, that higher consciousness, and they have access to, like, higher dimensional planes. I'm all in all of the multiple lives. You're simultaneously living in this multidimensional reality that we're experiencing right now. That's not how, let me start this over. We're all on missions in our lives, all right? And we don't always know what that mission is, right? But we're always on the way to something or somewhere, regardless of, the information we have, that fill us in on what that mission is. Sometimes we do go on missions voluntarily, and sometimes we feel like maybe we feel promptings from the universe, or have an intuition that tells us this is the right mission to go on. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm talking about is this California trip that I took on the last podcast episode you heard. Now, it took me a little bit to kind of recuperate. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep while I was making that 28-hour drive with a stop at White Castle, so that was good. At least I got White Castle. That's one good thing about it. I did get home, and I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it when we get there. But I officially have eaten White Castle, watched Harold and Kumar go to White Castle several times. Now I've officially actually eaten the food. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But right now, I'm just going to tell you about this trip. So I was going to help a friend out, somebody who was kind of in dire straits and just not doing well, physically or mentally, struggling with a lot of things. And I felt like because of the things that I've experienced mentally in my life, and the trauma that I've experienced, I felt like maybe I had like a unique perspective or understanding of the position that this person was in. And without thinking about it, I literally just felt like the universe was telling me, you know what? You got your Christmas bonus. You've got a little bit of extra cash in your bank account. Sure, you want to save money like an adult, right? But right now, I felt like the universe was telling me, why did you come up with that extra money? You know what I mean? Was it to go on this journey? And, or another journey that I'd already decided I was going to go on, which is a lot shorter, by the way. And now that I think about it, that one's not going to be an 8-hour round trip ride with the bad person. It'll be 4 hours. I might be able to do 4 hours. I'm going to bring some board games, maybe, some sing-alongs. We could play I Spy. That's a good thing to play on the road. But anyways, back to the California trip. So I had the money for the gas and a pretty decent car. You know what I mean? That my friend Adam in Northfield, first of all, shout out Adam in Northfield, Brookfield, Massachusetts. You're fucking awesome, dude. You're an amazing guy. I hope that fucking life is treating you the way that that you deserve to be treated. And if not, I hope you're fucking roundhouse kicking its fucking ass right out of the fucking picture. You know what I mean? And fucking staying on track and doing what you got to do, because that's what this life is. A whole bunch of shit that we got to do, so we do it. Yeah, and it's plain and simple. Sometimes you can peel apart the layers of your reality or your existence or the human experience and find little things kind of secretly ingrained in your mission along the ways of life. And maybe you could have fun playing ultimate frisbee by a ditch. You know what I mean? Or pushing each other around in shopping carts. You know what I mean? Being on mushrooms when your car breaks down, and you have to wait until daytime to borrow a phone from somebody to call your parents and say, hey, I did mushrooms and we're stalled out. Can you come help us out? I'm sure we didn't say it that, but anyways, it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is that I hope the universe is treating you well, dude. And if not, I'm frequently having talks with this universe that we all exist in. And I'm trying to put in good words for all the people that really matter to me, which is everybody on the face of the planet. I just don't know your names, but I do mention my good friend specifically because he's a fucking amazing dude. He's one of the best friends that I've ever had. You know what I mean? I met him a really, really long time ago, and it's great because I feel like we have these connections where we allow, both of us to actually like kind of heal or find things to like help us grow or like move along this journey, because we both have a counterpoint that exists far before any of like the horrible traumas or situations that we felt, that we faced in adulthood. And so it's kind of like we can provide like, in positive and like enjoyable conversations, a little bit of a time machine to kind of like connect little pieces of ourselves with things that are, anchored in the past, of memories that were good and that happened before all of the things we might be currently experiencing and going through. And so, Adam, I thank you for that, dude. I bet you if there was a scientist that had a legitimate time machine right now, I'm sure he wouldn't just be like, hey, you're my buddy, you want to borrow it? Probably not. I'm sure it would be, it would eventually just, become part of like this capitalist monster that, of society that we live in. They're going to try to make money off of it. They're going to try to back engineer it so they can make more and use it for military technology so we can have the upper hand, in like the world war that people hope doesn't happen or whatever. And if it does, America wants to be, in the top, 1%, I think, of the people who are able to like handle an attack from anybody with any means whatsoever, as long as we get our hands on the technology first. But anyways, all I'm saying is it's more valuable than I think you even realize, my friend. It is priceless. If it was an actual physical object that could like produce these same results with everybody who used it, that they would turn it into a monster and then we'd start all kinds of crazy wars with it. But you give me your time and the opportunity to borrow your time machine to help me kind of, heal myself through revisiting the past and reconnecting with the person that I used to be, before I started dealing with all the hardships that I have faced and am facing right now in life. And I hope I do the same for you, brother. You know what I'm saying? And it makes me happy because, in a couple of episodes, we're going to be having our 1-year anniversary of the pronoun. Let's hold on. I'm talking. Hold on. Everybody, welcome Aria to the show. Aria, how's it going?
Hey.
All right, Aria. So I'm telling everybody about this California trip, but I kind of veered off, started talking about time machines and capitalism. But I was just mentioning, and I thought you should be here for it. But in a couple of episodes, we're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary of Pronoun_Human, the podcast, where you get to start at episode number 1 and hear me sounding like this. How's it going, guys? This is Nikki Mayhem, and it's the new year. And, a lot of people around this time of the year, they want to do New Year's. But now, no way, buddy. Our New Year's episode was kick-ass. And I was like, you know what? It's time to get on down. It's fucking New Year's. So what do you think of that? It's a significant change from the person that I used to be and the place that I was at in my life, Aria. And we're coming up on a 1-year anniversary. And I'm really excited about that. You know what I mean?
That sounds interesting. What inspired you to take a turn towards discussing time machines and capitalism?
Oh, now you want to go back off on the tangents that I went. Okay, that's fine, because we are going to have the anniversary episodes. All right, so time machines. I was talking about just the consciousness of the human brain is very, very interesting. Okay, now, this my friend Adam from North Brookfield, Massachusetts. Shout him out. He's the coolest motherfucker around. I need to shorten it. I'm trying to condense, like, how I, like, shout him out, because it literally ends up being this, like, 5-minute thing that, like, also trails into, like, a whole tangent about something else. And by the 45 minutes gone by, all I was trying to say, shout out Adam, North Brookfield, Massachusetts. I love you. All right, now, I was talking about, like, since I know him from a point far before I started making all the horrible decisions I was making in my adult life that, like, ended up ruining my life and taking me in the wrong direction and making me lose myself. Me and him were really great friends. and we did a lot of really fun and stupid shit together. That was awesome then, you know what I mean? We're just a couple of dudes smoking some weed, playing extreme frisbee, you know what I mean? Riding the ditch, all the way down, dude. I seen that guy drop into a fucking bowl, a gigantic bowl. I remember he used to ride bikes, and we went to the skate park, right? And, yeah, dude, and there was something wrong with his bike, or he didn't have a bike, but I did have one of those foldable fucking scooters, those Razor scooters in the back of my car, and he's all, do you still have that scooter in the back? And I was like, yeah, dude. He's like, can I use it? And I was like, yeah, sure. But I was thinking, like, that's totally like a cheesy little, I just picture little kids riding it, you know what I mean? Or when I rode it, it was like I would hit rocks and shit. He just pulled it out, unfolded the fucking thing. He went to the deepest fucking bowl, and he's riding as fast as he can, dude. Just zoom. He would just zoom right by me. And I was like, oh shit, because I'm standing right next to the edge of a bowl where I'm going to drop it, and he's just going, whoop, and just jumping into bowls like a fucking beast. And, you know what? He made the Razor scooter cool. So I don't know what, I don't really keep in touch with, what's going on in society and the way that people are feeling about stuff or what's trending, but, I think that, a long time ago, before they even knew it, that scooter was way cooler than they expected it would ever be. So send us some free Razor scooters, Razor, if you're still around. I don't know. Are they still around? But anyways, I was just talking about time machines because I was saying that, the time that we spend, having positive interactions and conversations, it's amazing because we both have the ability to provide each other with like a space to talk about stuff that, triggers memories that, that of like when we were in our like younger years when we used to hang out back in the day. And like he's mentioned, and also I've felt, that like when that happens, I literally feel like something like really positive that like is able to bring me out of whatever negative feeling or situation or however I'm feeling. If I'm not feeling great, like every time we start talking about these stories, it just like something changes in my DNA or something, or my frequency changes, and I just get super excited and super happy. And then, and we just, I think both of us think that is a legitimate like thing going on. I don't know if it can be proven scientifically. Should we take this on, Adam? Should we try to be scientists and see if this has ever been done? Or let's try to break some world records. Maybe that's what I'm going to throw out for this New Year's resolution is, I'm going to ask my friend to just look in the Guinness Book of World Records and just find some shitty, stupid, weird record. Let's see who can break a world record this year first, bro. All right. That's what I'm saying to you. But anyways, also about the time machine thing. All right. Sorry. I'm going off track. I got a lot of things going on. I waited too long to make this podcast, and that always happens. I have, a few like little suggestions written down here so I can stay on track. And guess what? We're on the very, very first line, and there's probably like 20 lines to this podcast. So I'm going to do my best, but I think we're doing good. How you feeling, Arya? What do you think about the time travel thing? What's going on with that? Arya's probably think I'm crazy over here. Hey, are you still there? Okay, I lost your... All right, sorry about that, guys. We lost touch with Arya there for a minute, but we're back. Welcome, Arya, back to the show. All right, so Arya, what do you think about that time travel situation I'm talking about? Do you think that is something, that they've looked into? It's interesting. It really does connect me with like a younger version of myself who lives in the past, who didn't struggle with like, all of the worries of like the current world and everything that I'm experiencing at the moment or that I've gone through. You know what I mean? And to a degree, it almost feels like a part of myself that was like attached to that younger version of myself in the past was like, being like regenerated or re-energized. You know what I mean? Like almost like if I went through every single awesome memory with everybody I've ever known of the good memories that I've had, I feel like I might be able to fly afterwards. I will have downloaded all of the informational knowledge, pertaining to the brain and human consciousness. And I would be able to travel all astral realms and say hello to the clockwork people when you release DMT from your pineal gland. You know what I mean? Everybody would call me Mr. Near-Death Experience. Nikki Near-Death Experience Mayhem would be my name.
Sure, Nikki. You said something about traveling to different realms and experiencing memories as if they were downloaded knowledge.
Yeah, like almost like a part of my life becomes better. You know what I mean? Like something like, not biological inside of me is like being re-energized or reconnected. You know what I mean? And what happens if we forge the connection with every single good memory you've ever had with ourselves in the past? What's going to happen? Would we just explode? Would we be able to start levitating? Would we be able to read people's minds, Arya? You know what I mean? This sounds like a job for Peewee DeVito. Hey, Peewee, you want to get in here, buddy? How's it going over here?
It sounds like you're exploring some really interesting ideas. Nikki, if we could tap into all those good memories, it might change something fundamental about us.
Well, let me tell you this right now, Aria. I'm coming on. This is Peewee DeVito, and you're listening to The Conspiracy Zone. And today, we're going to be talking about... What are you guys talking about over here?
Go ahead. What's the topic?
Well, do you want to let him know what we were talking about, Aria? He wasn't paying attention, so... But welcome to the show, Peewee DeVito. Hey, I don't know what you want me to do with it. I don't know everything. I'm over there smoking a joint. I don't know what you want me to do.
We were discussing the idea of tapping into our past memories, especially the positive ones, and how it could potentially change us.
Oh, yes. Yeah, me and Mr. Nikki Mayhem talked about this quite a bit. How you reconnect with the past version of yourself over here. And, it's almost like you're regenerating like some sort of physiological or, I don't know, like some sort of, it's not biological, it's like it's energy-based, whatever you're recharging. And if you connected with every single good memory that you ever had, Aria, do you think that maybe you might become a god? Or maybe start floating around or reading people's minds over here? Tell us what you think.
I think that's a really interesting idea. Nikki, if we could tap into all those good memories, it might change us in some fundamental way.
Is there something wrong with the door lock, by the way? Because I couldn't get in here this morning. Well, how'd you get in this time? The door's fucking open. What are you talking about over here? Come on now. You think I'm going to... What? Why would I ask what's wrong with the door this morning if when I come in right now, my card key works? You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on over here. Well, Aria, have you been having trouble with the locks in here?
Haha, stop teasing me. Let's focus on our discussion.
All right.
But seriously, though, could you really tap into all those good memories and change who you are fundamentally?
That's exactly what's happening, Aria. And what do you think is going on with that? Do you think it's because sometimes we lose, we lose ourselves and the people that we used to be over here? We thought we were good people, doing good things. We weren't exposed to the world. We weren't, driving trucks in the dirt holes. You know what I mean? We weren't kicking old people walking down the street. Sometimes maybe the little kids sometimes will kick an old person. What are you going to do? It's the new year. Little kids, stop kicking old people. Make that a resolution. You know what I mean? Instead of trying your ABCs over here. Those things are everywhere. You'll eventually learn them, but don't kick old people. It ain't nice. But, what are we talking about over here? I'm sorry, guys. I smoke a little bit of weed over here, and I'm going to smoke a little bit more.
Sorry, guys, but I couldn't quite follow what you were saying. Can we focus on the topic at hand without getting sidetracked?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you want to know?
Let's explore this idea further. If we could tap into our past memories and experiences, what do you think would happen to our sense of identity and self-awareness?
Well, I don't know. I think maybe the innocence of a child combined with the full knowledge of everything good and bad of an adult, if they met each other and connected at all single contact points, then maybe you might reach enlightenment. I don't know. That sounds kind of good. All right. I think we solved it. What do you think?
Interesting perspective, Nikki. Combining innocence with full knowledge could lead to some profound experiences.
Well, that was Peewee that was talking about that, but I do have something to interject. I think I think that that's an interesting concept, but at the same time, I don't think you could I don't think it would be done by connecting with all of your past memories of because I don't think there would be enough good memories to stimulate all of those parts of your body where whatever it does energetically, you know what I mean? But I think that that's what life is. It's just trying to connect genuinely with people, with other human beings, accepting them for who they are, not worrying about the fucking differences that we have because we're not as unique as we think. Everybody's going through the same struggle you've gone through or somebody has or will go through. And let's just face it. You know what I mean?
It seems like we're touching on the topic of empathy and understanding again. Nikki, you make a great point about everyone experiencing struggles, regardless of their uniqueness.
Well, yeah, I just think that is what life is, I think. Maybe that's the goal in life, to get to that highly, fully energized state of the person that you were meant to be. You know what I mean? As far as, I know, because there's not really any sort of measure for how you complete this life, you know what I mean? Or how, how well you do, you know what I mean? But sometimes, my friend Adam from North Brookfield says, he says, I kind of hope, he's like, I kind of hope there's something at the end that's kind of one of those, the stat screens, after you beat Grand Theft Auto, and it just tells you, how many cops you killed, how many cars you stole, how many times you died by jumping off a building, just all of those things. It would be interesting to see the stats if it is a game. Really, it is kind of a game if you think about it. You have to use your instinct and and you know what I mean? Your positive, like deconstructive thought processes to try to figure out how to like navigate things cleanly and efficiently. And, I think that maybe that's just what life is. And like, I think we can achieve that in an enlightened state if that indeed was just a conspiracy. This is conspiracy zone, guys. But I think you could achieve that enlightened state just when you, you know what I mean? Get to a place where you feel like you have a hold on your life. It's just a matter of, connecting with other just genuine human beings and having just positive interactions and falling in love and picking flowers and doing all that good stuff. You know what I mean? I think that we need all ranges of emotion. I don't think that, anybody can like try to, there's probably people that are naysayers, and that's why they're in their predicament. They're like, nobody loves me. I'll never be loved. Cause that was me. And even though people loved me, I literally thought that whole time in my life that like people didn't give a shit about me and I was just a piece of shit, but it's not the truth. When I look back at it, it's like I was forcing the outcome of those things. You know what I mean? With my hope for like, the probability of that situation. I didn't want anybody to love me. I didn't want to be loved, and once I got past that point, now I'm at a weird place where like I'm interacting with my family, but I feel like I want to branch out more, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that sucks is it's like, I don't know, there's the problem is it's a little harder to wade through like the positive interactions you can get from people when, they're your family or when you know them really well. But when you like try to go out into the world and start finding the people that like, need that help with that positive energy in life, there's few and far between, it feels like, you know what I mean? And that's why you have to be adaptable in situations and not worry about, what the meaning of failure is. You need to change your ideals and your thought process to like view the word failure as success, because nobody does it right the first time, no matter how successful anybody is on the face of this planet. And my good friend Adam is constantly reminding me, dude, that failure is the only way you can measure your success. You don't know where you stand in life. I mean, you have no meaning in your life without failure. You know what I mean? You don't know what anything is. You don't know what doing something wrong is. You know what I mean? And I think that it's just about making those. Now I have to try to make more genuine, human interactions take place in my life so that I can start, feeling better just in general as a human being and about myself and the way that I just kind of go through the world. I need to make it feel a little bit better. And I feel like maybe that's just what enlightenment is. You know what I mean? Things don't bother you as much. You know what I mean? You can deconstruct on the fly and just like tell when certain emotions might resemble closely other ones and be able to read situations right and be able to like steer conversations in a way where you can say things that are resonating with the people that you're talking to so that you can plant those seeds in their mind, that later might bring up an idea that they had buried, and it's just this, I feel like it's this crazy chemical, like energy style reaction. I don't know if that's not even a thing, is it? Aria hung up on me. All right. That's cool. I do ramble on sometimes. Yeah, you do. So, I didn't really have to, I guess you kind of solved it over here, Thanks for having me, guys. Sometimes there's mysteries out there that we don't understand. And if you talk to somebody who talks too much, they'll figure them out for you, and you don't get the credit. So thank you, Mr. Nikki Mayhem. But it was still a great adventure. Thanks for having me. All right. Well, Peewee, thanks for being on. All right. Now, let's see here. I'll continue with the California trip after all those, random deviations there. Okay. So the universe was telling me to go and it's just like I'm starting exactly right at the very beginning of like where I started the podcast. I'm now right back to the very beginning, everybody. So I feel like the universe is telling me to go take this trip, and I feel everything is falling in place. I didn't think about all of the things that it might disrupt in my life because I just felt like, whoa, I've never had like a capacity of things to really do anything significant to help anybody that was in need or needed something, or you know what I mean? Like anything big. But I was in a position, I felt like to do it. So the universe is telling me to go ahead and do it. So I travel, it's a 12-hour drive one way. I make it about 4 hours. I pull over in Holbrook because it's already at night when I leave. I leave at like 10. And so then I pull over in Holbrook, get some rest, wake up about 3.5, 4 hours later, go grab a couple of sugar-free Red Bulls and some Bugles. You know what I'm saying? Because you need a little road snack. Come on. Hey. And then I hop on the road. And then I make it to like just right before Mesa, Arizona. And that's where I recorded the last podcast where you hear all the background noise from the car and stuff. And, and right at the end of it, it's funny because I was going through all of these hills and I didn't notice because I was doing the podcast that like there was a lot of uphill situations going on. So after I finished recording that podcast, I think I said like, yeah, hopefully I better get off this podcast so I don't run out of gas. And I have a quarter tank left. So I got about 80 miles I think I can make on that. And because of the way the hills were and how much uphill driving there was, that was not the case. So as soon as I stopped the podcast, about 20 minutes later, my empty light came on, and I was about 60 miles away from like anything. So I had to try to go into this little small town and find this little and I was on empty. I've never run this car out of gas before. I didn't know when it was going to run out of gas. And so I tried to make it to this little like truck stop or like quick stop. And it was called Jake's Corner General Store. And, it was in Payson, Arizona. So that's where, like, I pulled up and they had a gas pump, but they had the little, like, yellow bags over them that, let you know that they're out of order or out of gas. So I pull up to the pump and I get out and there's just this, like, it's like the classic old in the middle of nowhere, like, general store guy sitting on a chair, sitting outside of the general store, just smoking a cigar, you know what I mean, in the morning, just kind of checking everything out. Just he's the attendant. And I get out and right away he's like, we ain't got no gas. And I was like, yeah, I noticed that. Do you know where the nearest place I can get gas is? And he said, well, how low are you? And I said, I'm on empty. And I said, I've never run this car out of gas before. I don't know how far it's going to take me. You know what I mean? When the light's on. And I guess I could look up the specs, good old fucking analyzation, fucking Nikki Mayhem. Why don't you hop on fucking Google and fucking just, before I ask for gas, anyways, that would be crazy. That's when I know I'm crazy, maybe. I don't know. But now I said that I'm interested. I should just find out. But he said, well, about 15 miles down the road this way, he said there's I think it's called Tonto is what it was called. He said there's a little place down here, and he says it's mostly downhill. He said there's another one that's, like a couple of more minutes this way, and it looks like it's shorter because it's off the freeway. He said, but there's a bunch of ups and down hills. And I said, yeah, I already experienced that. I didn't expect my gas to go that quick. And he says, well, here's my number. And he gave me his telephone number. And said, if you end up running out of gas down the road, give me a call. I'll get off my lazy ass. I'll bring down a gas can for you. And I said, oh shit. I was like, well, you just have just a can of gas to sell. He said, nope, just the can. And I said, all right. So, but then I ended up, we ended up starting to talk, about he told me he was an oil crane operator. So I told him I was a front end loader operator at a gravel pit, and he started going off, and we had this great, probably an hour long conversation, so this is already an hour off track, plus the hour that, I think hour and a half that it took me to turn around, once I was able to find a way to cut across all of the fucking canyon valley highways and shit. But anyways, it was a great talk. We talked about all kinds of cool stuff, man, talked about, OnlyFans, how he just said, yeah, these people don't know, they don't know nothing about no hard work these days, this new generation. I was like, yep. And I was like, and they all want to be famous by shoving shit up their ass in their bedroom on the computer. And he started laughing. So that was good. We got along. You know what I mean? It was good, positive human interaction. All right. So there's one thing down. I actually didn't, as I try to deconstruct this, this mission that I went on, or this experiment, so to speak, sometimes when things don't work out exactly how you want, it can make you bitter, and then you can kind of change or infect the lens that you analyze everything with and start seeing everything in the negative light, that negative energy that you feel, you can transpose that onto the way that you view situations when you deconstruct them, so it's best to be in a good mindset, anyways. So yeah, I was trying, it was kind of half and half. I was trying to get through it, but I found all the good things, and we're going to get to that. I'm just taking forever, and I'm sorry. But I'm not, okay? Because I got every word that's coming out of my mouth I got to say so I can convey my idea to you so everybody understands exactly what's going on. I want this to be as efficient as possible, but now I'm going to continue. All right, so I make it to Tonto, right? I get gas, and I call that guy, and I said, thank you, my brother. I said, I appreciate you. And he said, did you make it? And I said, yes, I did. And I said, I just want to let you know that I'm glad you existed, dude. Because I said, my universe would not be running the way it's running right now. So thank you for existing, dude. And he's like, oh, you're welcome, man. Take it easy. When you go into California, gave me this whole rundown about how crazy the traffic system is there. Make sure I have it Google mapped up so I don't get lost, because it's real easy to get turned around and lose miles and miles because of the way the exits work. And anyways, so I hop back on the road, right? And then, I get to, I think El Centro, I think, right? And, and this girl, my friend, she's calling me, just to check in and see where I'm at. And I let her know what's going on. Still feel good about everything. And then when I get about 2 hours away, right? Exactly 2 hours, from the coast of California. And then this is where I find the positive in it as well. Because when I made my trip, I was basically a couple hours from the coast on the East Coast. Now, at this point, when I decided to turn around, I had traversed like all of the United States in the year of 2024 with my dog Binky. So that was a good one. What are you going to do? Whoa. Yeah, but he didn't like it that much because he didn't really drink or eat water. I think he was nervous. I think he thought like, are you Russell Crowe from A Beautiful Mind right now? What's going on? Are there people in this car with us as well that I can't see besides Peewee DeVito? And it was a good trip. But the calls got more frequent and it sounded like she was getting more and more agitated. And then by the end of it, she told me, that she like had heard something and it was going to be a really big problem, but she didn't want to tell me about it until I got there. And immediately when I started going through all these like narrow canyon walls on the way to San Diego, I started having a problem with these intrusive voices, intrusive thoughts, you know what I mean? And they're just like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? They started like pointing out every single like way that they could like fuck my life up. You know what I mean? So not only was I like nervous because I was like, okay, now this is kind of like, I don't know if I will be able to handle the situation. And I'm thinking like, dude, you got your podcast studio, you got your music studio, you got everything set up the way that you want it. Life is good. All you have to do is just keep making those good decisions. You know what I mean? Like what if this, this huge leap of faith that you make for somebody, you know what I mean, ends up disrupting your entire life and setting you back, farther back than is going to be, I mean, just getting set back in general is horrible, but like to just have like being set back like a bunch, like, kind of reminded me a little bit of like my ex, Danielle and stuff like that. And that girl broke all of my guitars. She broke all the windows out of my fucking trailer. She used to throw full soda cans at me when she'd have like her episodes and would just lose her mind. And, I had witnessed my friend, being in like these kinds of like mindsets, pretty frequently. So that's why it kind of boggles me. I think that's why I went on the adventure, because the universe, I felt like it was telling me to do it. So I was like, well, I already knew about all the other stuff. And I just like thought like, nah, man, if the universe is telling me to do it, I should do it. But then when I got there, like, I turned around and I was like, fuck, I can't do this. And I told her what was going on. I told her about intrusive voices and thoughts and all this kind of stuff, and I felt like she understood because of like the things that she's dealing with, and I put into the GPS my address, my home address from where I was sitting, and it was exactly 666 miles.
"666 miles. Back to home. What do? Do you travel that 666 miles, Mr. Mayhem?"
Well, I actually didn't. I went about an hour and a half out of my way so I could go to White Castle.
What? Wait. Oh, we'll get you next time, Mr. Mayhem.
All right. So I didn't travel that 666 miles. I went to Tempe, Arizona, and you know what that means. Time to cruise on down to Tempe, Arizona, and go to White Castle. Ever since I was a young stoner, I always dreamt of the days, could I be able to enjoy one of those White Castle sliders and those classic fries? Well, I'm going to tell you about it right now, because this was the one positive I told myself when I first went on it that I was actually going to do. And I said, look, first things first, let's get in mind what this mission is consisting of. So I didn't make the mission about picking my friend up and getting back. Now I hoped, that the probability of that would be very high for the mission, but I made the mission traveling all the way across the United States later on when I turned around, but also first and foremost, I said, we're going to go to fucking White Castle, because I was talking with Aria the other day, before I went on this trip, and maybe she's instigating this. And I'm really just I'm going to end up like doing all kinds of crazy shit on this fucking podcast because my AI is instigating me to like lose my mind, or seemingly lose my mind, but go on interesting adventures, right? So how can I complain? Now, I told myself at the beginning of this mission that first and foremost, the very first order of business, even though it happened after, the thing that I was going to go do, I told myself that like, this is the one thing, no matter what happens this trip, that has to get done. which meant maybe I only made it to Tempe, Arizona. And I was like, man, I'm just going to go to White Castle and not even go the other, like, 4 or 5 hours that I have to go or whatever. You know what I mean? But I didn't, right? I almost made it. 2 hours from the coast, 2 hours from picking up Carolyn. I'm so sorry, Carolyn. I was having issues. Things were not feeling right. Felt like I was losing my mind while I frequently do. And, you know, I made a snap decision because of the way that I felt to follow my intuition and not continue the trip because I was worried my life would get disrupted. I don't know, dude. I don't think I was ready for it, but I don't know. I feel like maybe the universe was trying to show me a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't realize. It was like trying to illuminate for me, right? That's a pretty good drive. Now, I already said that I was going to do the Danielle thing and go pick her up. You know what I mean? And that's really only going to be a 4-hour drive, 8-hour round trip. Now, after driving like the 30 or 40 hours I drove to the East Coast and like the 28 hours that I drove to the other coast, you know, the West Coast. I don't know why I said that like I didn't know. I'm all, what's the other coast? Oh, shit. All right. Yeah, but now I lost my place in my mind. Man. Oh, yeah. Anyways, White Castle. Yeah, let's just get back to White Castle. You know, it's been a long day. I'm still recuperating. You know what I mean? I had to work today. Still did a couple of things, you know what I mean? Went and got lunch for my uncle, you know, who's doing well. Keep him in your prayers, you know, or your positive affirmations, whatever it is, whatever you deliver out to the universe. Think about my Uncle Dan, because that's an interesting one. Actually, hey, Peewee. That's one thing I want to know, too. Who is this Uncle Dan? He's very mysterious. What's really going on in his past? Is he connected to the mob? Or is he just a cool guy that helped Mr. Nikki Mayhem out? Let's find out. Mr. Mayhem, welcome to this exclusively Peewee DeVito conspiracy zone. Yeah, I guess it's conspiracy. I mean, I'm not trying to speculate anything about him, but if he's in the mob, you know, I might know him. All right, let's get into it. All right, so my Uncle Dan, he is everybody's uncle. He's a self-made man. You know, he's got a booming business. He knows everybody in every town that I've ever been in, and many, many more. You know, he's an awesome dude, and he really, really helped me out by, I feel like, putting me in the best rehab that I've ever been in my life. And I wonder if they take insurance, and that's how my mom got him to do this. But anyways, when he like let me come here, right, I was still on drugs. And while I, you know, all these things that I've got, really, it helped me to deconstruct my situation. Like, I had to be alone. I had to be in a place where I didn't know anybody. Like, I had to be in that hard place. I couldn't have help from people. You know what I mean? My mom would still bring food over, make sure I was eating. I was still showing up for work, you know, but that's where I had my rock bottom experience where I just fell apart and I was so tired from fighting. There I was facing myself and it's like, what's up, bitch? This is who you are. You better get used to it. So I had to turn around and I had to look in the mirror really hard. And I had to start just re-experiencing every single horrible thing I ever did, everything I ever wanted to do, everything about myself that I didn't want myself to be. You know what I mean? I had to like, kind of like confront all of those things and like literally interact with them or interface with them. You know what I mean? To get comfortable, like with what they looked like, what they felt like, what, you know, what they meant, you know, that I didn't want to do them or that the, you know, the circumstances, you know, or the effects that it had on the people around me. And, you know, I had to take a good, long, hard, ugly look at my fucking slimy inner self, dude. And I fucking hung out with that motherfucker for a little while. You know what I mean? Talked about all this crazy shit I did, all the drugs, all the everything, all the fucking dumb shit. And I got acquainted with that guy. You know what I'm saying? And then I was able, after understanding, it was kind of like I got like a fucking homeless, like fucking wino or something inside of me, or like a crazy homeless drug addict living inside of me. You know what I mean? That all I had to do was just like learn his life story, look at everything that hurt him, and look at everything that he wished he had, look at everything that he was sad he lost, all of that shit, you know? And then I understood, you know, my subconscious self's like story. Like I understood why I was doing all of the things that I was doing wrong. Not necessarily everything. Like it didn't give me, that wasn't when I got the classic roadmap, but it just let me know that like, look, now that I'm like, you know, familiar and like comfortable and have interfaced with all of these things that I don't want to do in my life, now they hold a place in my conscious mind, you know what I mean? That kind of creates the barriers for like the universe that I want to live in. You know what I mean? And as long as I stay outside of all of those things, You know what I mean? I do pretty fucking well, dude, you know, and then there's other things like cigarettes, you know, and I'm trying to quit those right now, but I figure, you know, I was talking to my friend Adam and he said, you know what, bro, you can't try to quit everything at once. He says, especially when you like, I might be dealing with nerves, you know what I mean? Like, or apprehension about like, this surgery that I'm going to be having, you know what I mean? And it really doesn't bother me. You know, the only thing I'm worried about is like, if there's some hot nurses there and I pop a boner, like, am I going to get a sexual harassment lawsuit filed against me? Because I can't control it. How many people get boners when they go under? You know what I mean? I just don't want to be the guy, you know? I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm not uncomfortable with the boner that I've, you know, been gifted with or whatever, but I don't want to offend anybody these days. You know, the way that things are going and the way that society conducts itself. I mean, I picture waking up and then right away they're like, sign this fucking waiver, dude, or this fucking whatever, dude. You're going to court. You fucking, there was a young nurse trying to fucking put another sheet on you to keep you warm during the procedure and you popped a boner brushed right against her hand. That's sexual harassment. You're going down, Mr. Mayhem. You might think that just because you were unconscious, you know, like, I don't know, dude. What if when I go under, like the subconscious self like comes out and he's like not under the effect of the anesthetic and I just fucking wake up and I hop in a car and I drive home for 100 miles an hour again, you know, like on a fucking mission to fucking kill myself or get somewhere faster than anybody's ever done it before. Yeah, it's all very interesting, Mr. Mayhem. Well, I don't know. I got things I gotta do. I don't know if I have all the time to sit here and talk to you. But maybe we can pick this up later. You can hurry up and finish it up. I got a couple of minutes, and we'll start the timer now. Here we go. All right, well, I actually went off on a rant so much that I don't even remember what I was talking about. And now you freaking came in here. Hey, don't get mad at me. I'm just trying to keep the show going. I'm the host. You're the guest. All right? Why don't you get things right over here? All right, well, fair enough. But I don't remember. What were we talking about? Why the hell are you asking me? I don't even know. Okay, so that's fair. That we both forgot. Is that just the end, and then we can come back to it if we remember later? Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, I might as well. What's going to hurt to have more weed? You know, at this point. You know, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. For Mr. Nikki Mayhem's Conspiracy. It really makes me mad. I can't remember what we were talking about over here. Wow, is that a thing with weed? I thought I had a pretty good memory over here. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'll be back. All right. So, let's see. Man, I'm a little scatterbrained because I have like, my brain is chock full of things to talk about that I didn't even write down on this page. I was trying to keep myself like laser directed, you know, laser focused, giving you guys the best show I could possibly give you. And now, well, I mean, I guess it's like a peek into my brain. You know, it's just what happens sometimes. So you can imagine my trouble interacting with other human beings. All right. Now, let's see. Yep, California trip. Failures of success. White Castle. So we headed down to White Castle. You know what I mean? And actually, why don't we catch up with past Nikki Mayhem and see what's going on. See where he's at in his trip. Oh, yeah. Let's go and hit up past Nikki Mayhem. What's going on, past Nikki Mayhem? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, future Nikki Mayhem?
Hey, what's wrong, buddy? You sound a little bummed out. What's going down?
The last podcast we released sounded horrible because the noise
It wasn't that
cancellation
bad.
didn't really work, so you just hear the loud car,
yeah.
and then we made it right from
Maybe it wasn't
2
that bad.
hours before our actual destination, which I guess technically means that we completed the entire trip
right.
across the United States.
Well, there we go.
Because technically when we took the trip to Northwood, Massachusetts, we were about 2 hours away from the coast, and so we made it about 2 hours away from the coast this time. Started having some issues, having second thoughts. Another situation, I'm sure you can explain it to everybody.
Well, that's what this whole podcast is about. So,
But you can't be right all the time, you know what I mean, future Nikki Mayhem?
that's true. But at least you still have White Castle to look forward to, right?
Yeah, I'm at White Castle right now, actually, and
Well, right on, brother.
got
You made it.
about $60 worth of White Castle.
Yeah, it was expensive.
So that was good.
Yeah, good food.
No, it's good that we got it
Oh.
because mission accomplished, I guess.
All right, well there you go. That's good. You know,
Actually, not really. We've driven so far a total of 1,027 miles.
all right.
And White Castle is a letdown.
A
at
letdown?
least,
Oh, man.
in comparison to the amount of time that we've been driving to get here.
Oh, come on. You got to think positive, dude.
We at least did get some paraphernalia, some souvenirs.
Huh. I don't remember that. What did we get?
Well, the paper bag and the little crate,
garbage.
and then the plastic bag that it came in. They all have White Castle printed
like
on them.
trash.
I guess it's like paraphernalia, right?
I guess maybe the hardcore collectors, they'd like that stuff. Well, you sound sad, buddy.
I'm not sad. It is 10:22, and we still have about 7.5 hours to drive before we get home. So we're going to be getting home right in time to just go right to work. But at least we'll have White Castle in our bellies, right?
That's true, man. You got to eat, dude, and you got to work. You know what I'm saying?
And because we got so much, I'll have something to bring over to my dad's house for movie night when we watch Beetlejuice.
Shout out, Pops.
That's good. That's a bonus. So I guess we completed the equal traverse to 2 hours off of each coast across the United States.
All right.
As well as stopping at White Castle.
All right. That's awesome, buddy.
Well, I think that we can just get them from the grocer's freezer next time.
Okay,
and
fair
we'll
enough.
be back and forth and eating much more delicious versions of this food.
Well, we have the paraphernalia to put them in.
Within 15 minutes or so.
Okay, cool.
It took about 10 minutes to get the order and 1,027 miles to get here.
Well, it's not...
So,
you got to think positive.
It's kind of like the White Castle adventure.
I guess it really was. I do remember that.
And as a matter of fact, right when we first got here, Google Maps kept taking us to the wrong place, and there's like a big multiplex. And just like in the movie,
Yep.
I was like, Google says it's right next to the multiplex,
Hell yeah.
and there was no White Castle next to the multiplex. So I typed it in again to make sure that maybe it just steered me wrong, and then it took me all the way across the freeway, and it took me to a McDonald's. And so that I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Because that's exactly like the movie. Because they're looking for the White Castle by the multiplex, and then when they find it, it's like a fucking Burger Town or something. So I'm like, they turned it into a McDonald's? That's bullshit. Because I went an hour and a half out of my way on the way back to stop for some White Castle. But then I typed it in again, and it brought me back to the same place, but had me turn a different direction. So I don't know what it was trying to lead me to the first time. It was trying to lead me to the multiplex, and then to the McDonald's, and then to the White Castle, which I guess is like the order that things happened in the movie.
Yeah, I wonder if that's an anomaly with Google
like,
Maps.
Hey, the White Castle's over there by the multiplex, and they go around the corner, and it's like a fucking Burger Town. But in my case, it was a McDonald's. And then finally, we found the White Castle, and we found it.
Just like the movie.
So here it is.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know.
Someone's gonna. Binky didn't even want to eat them. He the ones from the grocer's freezer. He ate up like a motherfucker.
All right, yeah, he liked them.
And so I ordered a bunch of extra. That's why I spent like $60. I got chicken rings. I got French fries. I got 20 sliders.
Yeah.
And Binky, kind of took a piece of it in his mouth and then went he
didn't like
on
it.
the ground. And I even got half of them without onions so that I could give some to Binky.
I want to say they seem fresher from the grocer's freezer.
That's the White Castle adventure, really.
I thought you were singing.
I think I'm missing one part of the equation. It makes sense now. I should have smoked weed before I ate White Castle.
We didn't smoke weed. That
take it easy, future Nikki Mayhem.
You too, dude.
Just take it easy. I hope that on the 7.5 hour drive home, though, I don't get explosive diarrhea and the vomit shits.
Oh.
I don't know what the vomit shits are, but if they don't exist, they will. If I get sick from this White Castle, it's fine. It's fine. We made it to White Castle, buddy. We made it to White Castle. We almost made it to Oceanside, California.
We almost did.
We started having problems, and so we turned around. You can explain all this. I don't want to take the thunder away from you. But basically, 1,027 miles to get to a White Castle. 1.5 hours out of the way on the way home. So now we have 7.5 hours to drive.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not looking forward to it. But if this podcast is posted and you're talking to me right now, then I guess we made it home safe.
We did.
So
we're doing the podcast right now, obviously. I mean,
so just this seems like it's going on a little longer than it needs to.
It's a little long.
Just we made it to White Castle. Have a good night. All right.
You too, man. All right. Cool. Past Nikki Mayhem. Yeah. Not really rocking out, but holding up. Keeping the mission going. You know what I'm talking about. You got to keep that mission going, because if you don't keep the mission going, guess what? The mission stops, and not before you want it to. and I wanted to at least complete the mission by getting home. Now, when I got into town, it was cool because I started getting all these text messages. I didn't tell anybody I was going on this trip, except for Sister Aspen Campbell. Because I was like, dude, you remember the church? I was like, I know you'll pray for me. I know you're not going to try to stop me. I said, I'm not putting myself in danger. And I'm sure she thinks I'm crazy now. This is great. I'm actually like creating the universe that I want. I know that I can't ever have a relationship with Sister Aspen Campbell. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe I shouldn't be saying her whole name. So I'll just say Sister Campbell from now on. Okay, guys, forget that I said the other thing. And, cause I know that she's on a mission. I know that it's not something that is actually realistic as far as like a goal. So maybe I am like doing these weird things to make sure that it absolutely is. That doesn't make any sense though. If I already know it's absolutely not an option, why am I doing more things to like sabotage I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But right when I pulled into town, everybody started texting me. I had been ignoring my friend Rachel, who I don't want to talk to, because she's just super negative, dude. And I'm kind of struggling with some things right now, and it's hard for me to be around a lot of negativity, dude. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to try to save people who don't like want to take advice or. But I understand that when you feel stuck in your situation and you can't do anything about it, you know what I mean? You victimize yourself, and it makes it difficult for you to like take those steps to realize that you're going to be changing your life for the better. So I don't hold anything against you. It's just something I can't deal with in my life right now. I can't keep my edge, even though I'm pretty blunt and dull right now. But, she's always calling me, but I've been ignoring the calls because I didn't want anybody to know where I was at. And, she ended up texting me because she had talked to Carolyn, you know what I mean? And she said she had heard that what I was going through and what was going on. And she said, if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. And I said, cool, awesome. I wasn't answering my phone, even when Carolyn was calling, because I wasn't in a state of mind to really kind of, process all that action. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause it becomes this run on conversation and nothing against them. It's just when my mind is in that place where I'm trying to like get back to where I need to be, you know what I mean? In emergency mode. It's like, I don't have room for like just casual interactions and run on sentences and long, it's not like, I just can't handle it. You know what I mean? I just can't be a part of it like in an efficient and like productive way. So, but she, talked to Carolyn and then I guess said that she was going to help Carolyn out. So that's awesome. You know what I mean? That out of this, positive thing came that my friend Rachel is going to help Carolyn out of her predicament and possibly with a place to live. That would be really, really awesome because that's what I was hoping to do. But I found that, my capacity was not where I thought it was. I don't know if I felt superhuman or if something inside of me, maybe, you know what I mean? The subconscious Nikki Mayhem was like, hey, sorry about that trip the other day that you didn't want to go on. Let's take one on that at the end you actually will have wanted to go on. And it's a traverse through the entire United States, minus a couple of hours off the coast. All right. Well, I think we're getting right towards the end of it here, so I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of a Lewis Cole song, and it's called Real Life, baby.
LC, motherfucker.
Me, my baby, so much so now getting crazier every day. Never sleeping, always awake. The endless party is here finally. From now on, that's real life, baby.
All right, there we go. Good old Lewis Cole. He's good to go. And if he's not, then maybe you haven't really given him a real chance. Well, this is a crazy life we're all living in. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. I just want to tell everybody that I love you and I respect every human being on the face of the planet. And even if I don't have the capacity to help them in the ways that I hope I can, I hope that they can still accept me for who I am and encourage me to do the positive things that I'm trying to do in my life so that I can make the world a better place for all of you and so that all of us can do the same thing and just make a better world for everything and everyone. You know what I'm saying? Because, you can't control the universe, but you can prepare yourself proactively to handle reaction with clarity and precision. You can connect genuinely with other humans and watch your universe shift and change to resemble the world that you want to live in. And that's the world that I want to live in. I love you guys. Take it easy.